Oof, I'm really rocking this quarantine look. Hi, everyone. So, the feedback that I got on my last video talking about Go and GraphQL, and the most questions that I had was actually around my command line setup and how I have gotten Vim and Tmux and everything to sort of look the way that it does. So, I figured I could do a video that would be a good jumping off point for you. Let's say that you wanted to do more command liney stuff with your MacBook Pro. A lot of this stuff also applies to you if you're a Linux person. This isn't going to be like a totally newbie video, but it's also not going to probably not going to be for like the most advanced users. If you're a super advanced user, you probably know how to do all this anyway. I'm also going to put my configs in the video description below. Feel free to use them. I highly encourage that. I like to keep my configs fairly simple. So again, provides a good starting off point for you if that's what you're interested in doing. Okay, so the first thing that I did when I got my MacBook Pro was I installed Homebrew. So what is Homebrew? Homebrew is a package manager for OSX. Now, if you're coming from the Linux world, Ubuntu or Mint have APT. I believe CentOS and Red Hat is Yum. Every single distro has it. OSX is also based on Unix, just like Linux is, but it doesn't come with a typical package manager like those operating systems would for reasons. So somebody went out and wrote an open source project that allows you to do it. And it works really, really well, and it's called Homebrew. So if you want to install Homebrew on your machine, literally all you have to do is open up your terminal and cut and paste this script. Once you have that installed and running, then you can start to get into some really, really interesting stuff, and you can start installing packages. So let's talk about what kind of packages I would use. So probably the first one that I would install is iTerm2. The stock terminal emulator, terminal, whatever you want to call it, on Mac is pretty garbage. It's not good. iTerm2 offers you a ton of features. I use iTerm. Pretty much every developer I know who has a MacBook Pro, or a Mac, excuse me, has iTerm2. So I would highly, highly suggest installing it. And the way that you're going to do that is via a cask. So there is a difference between package installations in Brew. You can do Brew install, whatever it is, or Brew cask install. And typically the differential is graphical programs. So something like iTerm, OBS, which is what I use to record my YouTube videos, all of those are going to be installed via casks. Whereas something like wget, CMake, NeoVim, Python, all those command line programs, that's just going to be a simple brew install. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is iTerm profiles. So all of this stuff is customizable, which is really, really nice, and I've customized it in a manner that I really, really like. So in the profiles, I'll come in here, I'll adjust the colors. I like to use Solarized Dark because it fits really well with the Solarized Dark Vim plugin that I use. And it's just a color preset. There's lots of color packages that you can use out there. That's the one that I do. One thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to heighten the minimum contrast to about halfway. And that's because there's some stuff won't show up properly on your command line if you really don't do that. It'll look really weird, and just heighten your minimum contrast to about half. And then for text, I use the Monaco font, regular. The size right now is a little higher because I'm doing a video, but I usually just use 16. So then after that, you're going to want to install CMake, NeoVim, Python, ZSH, Tmux, and Git and Go. If you want to develop in Go, my last video was in Go. Obviously, I'm interested in Go. I'm going to do a lot of Go stuff on this channel. So I would definitely recommend using Go, just because it also allows you to do some other stuff. You can use a file navigation tool called LF, for example. So once you do brew, install, cmake, neovim, python, zsh, tmux, git, and go, that's a really, really great place to start start doing like plugins, configurations, all that kind of stuff. So the first one that you're going to want to do is install omyzsh. So the reason that you want to install omyzsh is because omyzsh takes your stock command line and gives you an absolute ton of options to be able to come in here and customize stuff. So when I look at my terminal, right, I can come in here and I can customize all of this stuff. Like this prompt, for example, that I have up here is custom. And so omyzsh will allow you to do that. There's also some really interesting plugins that we're also going to get into. So if you want to install omyzsh, the simplest way is literally cut and paste this command into your terminal, run it, and you're good. So once you have omyzsh installed, there are two plugins that you're going to want to install for omyzsh. And when I look in my omyzsh plugins, there's a lot of plugins available in here for you to be able to use. There are really 3 or 4 only that I use. And 2 of them that are not stock, aka ones that don't come with omyzsh, are zsh auto suggestions and zsh syntax highlighting. What does that mean? So let's say that I have previously typed a command into zsh, into the command line. Well, you'll notice here when I start typing Python, this whole thing comes up. And that's an auto suggestion. That's a really, really handy tool to have. Trust me. The other one that I have is zsh syntax highlighting. And so as you're typing in a command, it's pretty handy to know if you're typing in that command properly. So if I come in here and I say Python, it'll show up as red because that's incorrect. Nothing's going to happen, right? But if I come in here and I type Python 3, oh, it shows up as green. That's the syntax highlighting. So because you have already gone and installed Git via Homebrew, you are now able to come in here and install these two. And it's literally just a Git, clone, and then the the URL of the directory. And you want to clone both of those into your plugins file. And then once you have done that, you can actually go and put in your ZSHRC. ZSHRC. Ooh. So the plugins that are automatically loaded when I load up ZSH are, you can see here on line 71, right? So I have Git, ZSH auto suggestions, and ZSH syntax highlighting. Again, you can use any one of those plugins. Do be aware that the more plugins you use, the slower your terminal will be to start up. Not really a problem on most modern machines. They're usually pretty powerful, but you never know. But those are the 3 that I use. I'll also say the theme that I use is Birra, although it is slightly customized. It's line 11 right here where you can see where you set your ZSH theme. And I'll show you how I've actually customized Birra. So if you look, here's the Birra theme config. And essentially what I did was, here is the actual kind of prompt where the magic of the prompt is happening. I just removed my username and the MacBook Pro name, like the name of the laptop itself. I don't find it helpful. If I'm SSHing into something, I guess it could be helpful, but I removed that just because I find it distracting. But it's nice because it tells you, if you're in a Python virtual environment, it tells you what Git branch you're on, it tells you your current directory. It's really a really great theme, and it gives you your command prompt on a new line. So let's say that you're in a really deep subdirectory, and you also have to type out a massive command. That can get really convoluted looking very, very quickly. So I really like Birra because it puts my command line on a new line, and it puts the directory that I'm in along with the branch that I'm on above. So the next thing you're going to want to install is TPM, aka the Tmux Plugin Manager. In order to install the TPM, the Tmux Plugin Manager, literally all you have to do is cut and paste that into your command line, and then it will run. Then you'll also have to use a Tmux config file. So Tmux will know what you want to configure or what you want to have start up whenever you start up a Tmux session, and you'll do that via a Tmux conf. My Tmux config is just in my home directory. So I'm doing space -LA. You'll see that I have a .tmux conf in here. And I really like to keep mine simple. Essentially, like the plugin aspect is really right here. So the two plugins that I like to use are Tmux Resurrect and Tmux Continuum. They sound a lot fancier than they really are. Essentially, if you don't have these plugins, anytime you reboot your machine, your previous Tmux session gets deleted. And I like to be able to preserve that. So when I reboot my machine, I can start up Tmux, and it'll just go back to the same spot that I was before. So it'll preserve the windows or the tabs or workspaces, whatever you want to call them. It'll remember like where I was. Very handy stuff. And then I also have some stuff in here that allows me to have this little handy dandy little status bar down here, which just tells me, hey, here's the windows that you have open, and here's your continuum status. So 1 means you're all good. Again, you can find all of these on the GitHub repository that I'm going to be linking in the description. So that's my Tmux config. One special note, when you use this config file, you are actually going to have to tell it to install stuff. And the way that you tell it to install stuff is your prefix, aka Control B. And I have this set to stock. It's just capital I. You'll see it says all of a sudden, hey, Tmux environment reloaded, press done, continue. And that means now you have your plugins installed. For the first time for you, it'll take a little bit longer, but that's one of the reasons I love the plugin manager. I don't have to manage any of that stuff myself. It's just a simple prefix and Shift I, and it installs all the stuff that I need. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is get your Vim plugins running. So remember, we're running NeoVim. NeoVim is better than normal Vim. Your MacBook Pro, why do I keep saying MacBook Pro? Your OSX will usually, I believe, it comes stock with Vim. A lot of Linux machines you have to install it, but use Vim. It's pretty great, but I really like NeoVim. NeoVim has some optimizations. It plays a little bit better with some more modern plugins, that kind of thing. So you're definitely going to want to install NeoVim. One of the gotchas of NeoVim is that you really need to have a Python 3 plugin installed for it, and I believe the command is just Python 3 or pip3 install NeoVim, and that'll install sort of all the stuff you need to be able to run quite a few different plugins with NeoVim. When you install Python via brew, like on line 5, for example, this actually installs Python 3. So with NeoVim, there's also a little gotcha. Your Mac OSX machine will not come with a .config file. So if I look in here, right, I have a .config. This is something that you'll see on Linux machines, but you typically won't see it in OSX. Although for us, we need to create one. So if I look in .config, hey, look, you'll ZSH auto suggestion, excuse me. I have an invim/init.vim. So if I look at this init.vim, it's only 32 lines. I have seen Vim config files that have gone for thousands of lines. It's very common, and it's very customizable, and that's why people like it. I prefer to keep mine fairly simple. So you can see here that we have all of these plugs. What is a plug? Well, this is essentially Vim plugged. So what is Vim plug? Vim plug is a minimalist Vim plugin manager. I used to use Pathogen, but I really just found it to be too bare bones for my taste. You can use Pathogen if you like. There's 6 or 7 sort of Vim plugin managers that you can use. Vimplug has kind of become sort of the modern standard for a lot. It's very easy to install. Do note that you have to install the NeoVim version, not just the Vim version. So the NeoVim version, obviously, we are on a Unix machine, so we're with the Linux crowd on this one. Just cut and paste that into your command line and run it, and it will install and create everything really that you need. What makes this even handier is, let's say that you go to your command line right now. I have all these plugins right now. So I have Vim Go for Go stuff, Color Solarize for all these handy colors. I have Vim Vinegar, which is a great navigation tool. Nerdtree is also kind of a navigation tool, but it's a little different. UCompleteMe, which is the auto completion engine that we're going to talk about, and Vim Fugitive, which is, I believe the tagline is a Git viewer that is so good it's almost criminal. Vim Fugitive is like a video all on its own. Very, very interesting stuff. Gets a whole thing on its own as well. Again, you can get this config file down below in the description, and that'll route you to my GitHub, with this config file. So now that we have these plugs listed here, well, how do we get them installed and how do we use them? I haven't done any git clones, nothing like that. I can come in here, I can just type :plug. And this is a Vim command. Installed. I can also do plug update. All of my plugins are now updated and installed. Well, installed and then updated. They were already installed, but you get the point. One little gotcha, and that is for auto completion. So if I go to my projects, right, and I go to, we were talking GraphQL the other day. So let's say that I wanted to do something with like root query that's established right here, right? So root query dot, and then it pops up with a menu that I can tab through, and it gives me all kinds of options along with the type associated with that. That's auto completion, and that's all done via UCompleteMe. So if I go to my home.vim plugged, here are all of my plugins and their directories installed. So here's UCompleteMe. UCompleteMe is an amazing auto completion engine. It does all kinds of languages, all kinds of stuff. I have found it fantastic for Python, Go, C, C++. It's really, really great for. It's great for a lot of different things. But again, here's the gotcha. When you install UCompleteMe, you don't just get to use it straight out of the box. Most often what you'll see is like if you start up Vim and you haven't compiled the package, you'll see some sort of error on the bottom left saying UCompleteMe server is down, hasn't, this or that. The way that you install it is super, super simple. Here you'll see there's an install.py script. All we do is Python 3 auto completion, but install.py --all. And what that says is install all the stuff you need to support all the languages that you support. You can come in here and you could say Go completer if you just want to have Go. But I always just do all because why not? And so if we run this script right now, it's going to compile and install UCompleteMe. And hey, we're done. So one special note about this is you do have to have CMake installed in order for this to work. So ensure that you do that whole command that I showed you in the beginning when we look at our setup vid text file here that I've written just for notes for myself. CMake is on line 5. Make sure that you have that. And I mean, at that point, essentially your command line is ready. One thing that I do suggest is after this is to install Sdk Man. So what Sdk Man is it manages sort of the Java world of languages. So Kotlin, Groovy, and of course Java itself. It's also really easy to install. But here's another gotcha. If you use this command, be sure to put in ZSH and not bash. Because if you put in bash, it'll assume that you're still using bash and you're not using ZSH. So it won't work the first time around, and you'll be like, oh, what the heck? I just installed this. Why isn't it working? Once you have that installed, you can do things like SDK list Java. And that'll tell you all the versions of Java that are available for installation. I use Java 11. I don't know what the .hs one does. Just install the J9 one and use. I was just using Java 11. That's pretty much considered the modern bare bones standard, maybe 1.8. Java 11 has a lot of really great features that you should probably be using. Also, install the Adopt Open JDK version. Don't use any other version. Install Adopt Open JDK. It's the best version. It's completely open source. You can also do SDK list Groovy, for example. And that'll tell you what versions of Groovy are available to install. SDK list Kotlin. All right. I'm learning some Kotlin right now, so I have Kotlin 1.3.72 installed. So there you go. Once you have all of that installed, I mean, you essentially have a fully working command line that you can start doing some really, really interesting stuff with if you want to do Vim and Tmux. They're both awesome pieces of technology. I'll put 2 cheat sheets that I use really frequently down in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is really cool stuff. It gets me really, really excited. And I got more content coming your way. So, yeah, we'll see you soon.